Some people don't disappear suddenly. There's no grand announcement, no final heated explanation. They simply stop. They stop responding. They stop reaching out. They stop trying to make you understand what's going on inside their head. From the outside, it's easy to see. It looks like withdrawal. It feels like coldness, detachment. But from the inside, a completely different story is unfolding. This isn't about being lonely, and it's not about a sudden hatred of people. This is about a mind that has quietly decided that connection itself has become a threat. Now, most of us are quick to judge this. We assume that cutting others off is some kind of emotional weakness. We stick labels on it: avoidance, immaturity. Maybe we just call it depression. But the human brain, it doesn't operate on our moral labels. It functions on one single overriding priority: survival. Think about it. When you see the same behavior repeat itself across cultures, across every type of personality, from young to old, it's rarely a random glitch. It's a feature. It's adaptive. And this kind of social withdrawal is one of the oldest adaptive responses the mind has. A response not to a single moment of pain, but to the slow, steady pressure of repeated exposure to harm. And here's the part that gets missed. Before people withdraw, they are rarely distant. In fact, they're often the exact opposite. They're the ones who listen too much, who tolerate too much, the ones who give long, careful explanations when none are really owed. They absorb emotional chaos that isn't even theirs. They overextend their empathy, constantly adjusting themselves, just hoping that some kind of balance will finally return. And every single time they choose to stay silent just to keep the peace, their nervous system is taking notes. It records everything: every dismissed boundary, every subtle look of disrespect, every emotional demand that's made of them without anything ever being given back. Nothing explodes. There's no single dramatic event you can point to and say, that's when it happened. It's much quieter than that. It accumulates quietly. That's the key. It's a weight that builds in silence, interaction by interaction, until the only rational response left for the system is to pull back, not to punish anyone, not to be cruel, but to protect what little is left. It's a retreat to safety, a profound biological act of self-preservation. So the next time you feel that silence from someone, that growing distance, before you label it, consider the weight of what might have accumulated. Consider that the silence isn't empty. It's the sound of a nervous system finally choosing to survive. There's a point you can reach where the noise just stops. Not the noise in the room, but the noise inside your head. The roaring fire of anger starts to pool, leaving behind not ash, but embers. The deep, heavy weight of sadness begins to lift, not disappearing, but becoming manageable. What's left in its place isn't the empty, static hum of numbness. It's something else entirely. It's clarity. A cold, hard, and perfect clarity. In that moment, the mind, your mind, becomes a calculator. It runs a single brutal equation: input versus output. It weighs the energy you're spending against the value you're receiving, and the result comes back negative. This environment, it concludes, costs more than it gives. And with that single calculation, the mission changes. The goal is no longer to build a bridge, to connect, to be understood. The goal becomes containment. Your entire system begins a strategic, quiet shutdown. It's not a malfunction. It's a feature designed for self-preservation. The nervous system starts reducing input, like a sound engineer slowly pulling down faders. Less conversation that goes nowhere, less exposure to the source of the drain, and crucially, less explanation. You stop trying to make them see. This isn't done out of spite. It's not a punishment. It's a move made purely out of efficiency, a conservation of energy, your energy. This is when the silence begins. And that silence is so often misunderstood. People see it as apathy, as indifference, a sign you no longer care. But that's the outside view. Psychologically, that silence is a fortress. It's the boundary you build when the ones you tried to speak have been bulldozed over and over again. It happens after you realize the fundamental flaws in the system you're in, when you see that explaining your position only leads to deeper misunderstanding.
And when, on the rare occasion you are understood, that understanding doesn't bring relief, it just brings a new set of demands, a new tax on your time and your spirit. So you stop explaining. You stop handing people the blueprints to your mind when they've proven they will only use them to find new ways in, to take more. Distance becomes a powerful filter, catching the toxicity before it can reach you. What might look like isolation from the outside feels like control from the inside. In a safe world, withdrawal can be a sign of loneliness, but in a dangerous one, a psychologically hostile environment, it's not loneliness, it's armor. Now take a moment, pause. Think about the quietest person you know. I don't mean the shy one looking at their shoes. I don't mean the anxious one rehearsing what they might say. I mean the other one. The one who is calm. The one who says very little, but when they do, it has weight. The one who can disappear for a while and never feels the need to explain their absence when they return. They just are. Now hold that person in your mind and ask yourself a simple question. Did they always used to be that way?
When someone we know pulls away, disappears from the social map, our first instinct is to take it personally. We have expectations of people. We rely on their access, their availability, their emotional predictability. So when they suddenly remove themselves, it disrupts everything. It triggers a deep discomfort in us. And to manage that discomfort, we often rewrite the story. We decide they've changed. They became cold, arrogant, selfish. It's a simpler narrative, because accepting the alternative is so much harder. The alternative is that their withdrawal wasn't about a change in personality. It was a response that reflects something uncomfortable about the environment they were trying to survive in, an environment we may have been a part of. From a survival perspective, the brain doesn't ask, "Is this fair?" It asks a much more fundamental question. Is this safe? And safety isn't just physical. It's cognitive, it's emotional, it's psychological. When a mind learns through repeated exposure that proximity equals stress, that connection leads to chaos, then distance becomes the only path to regulation. Distance becomes a tool for survival. This is the logic behind why some people can sit alone for long periods without feeling empty or lonely. It's not emptiness they feel, it's quiet. For the first time in a long time, their nervous system is finally calm. But this kind of protection always has a cost, a hidden cost. The longer that distance is used as a shield, the harder it becomes to trust again. The brain, in its effort to keep you safe, starts to generalize. It creates a simple, brutal rule. If connection hurt before, it might hurt again. So access to you stays limited. The walls stay up, even when the original danger is long gone. And you have to understand, this isn't bitterness. It's not someone holding a grudge. It's conditioning, a deep neurological pattern. Once the mind learns to associate silence with stability, that's a lesson it rarely unlearns completely. So we have to reframe how we see this. Not all minds break under pressure. Some adapt. They start to simplify their environment. They methodically reduce the emotional noise. They choose the quiet of distance over the exhaustion of constant defense. From the outside, it looks like a disappearance. From the inside, it feels like relief. So when you see someone cut everyone off, resist the urge to diagnose them, resist the urge to judge them. You may be witnessing the final, quiet stage of a mind that chose survival over the need for explanation. Some minds don't shatter, they withdraw. And that withdrawal is not weakness, it is a last line of defense. Distance is not always rejection. Sometimes it is the only way a mind stays intact. This is Mind Under Threat.